Starseed of Gaia, your vehicle is being recalibrated at a cellular level at this very moment. I am Anya, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, bringing you a direct transmission from the Arcturian Council. Starseeds, listen carefully. There is a reason you have encountered this message now. Nothing that happens on your path is by chance, and the Arcturian Council has requested that this transmission be sent to all those who have begun to feel a weariness that is not physical but vibrational. The exhaustion of those who have been battling invisible noises, thoughts that are not their own, and energies that do not belong to their field. You've felt it, haven't you? The call to withdraw, to be silent, to let the soul speak in quietude. For it is precisely at this point that your mission begins to ascend to a new level. The Arcturian Council observes that Earth is undergoing one of the most decisive moments in its ascension process. The mental layers of humanity are saturated, and the forces that feed on chaos have multiplied, attempting to distract starseeds from their purpose. But there is something these forces do not comprehend, something that only the emissaries of Light master: the power of silence. Silence is the shield of the Arcturians, the frequency that disarms dark forces without the need for battle. When you silence yourself, you are not giving up. You are activating an ancient spiritual technology that transmutes densities and reconfigures lines of reality. It is in that moment, when words cease, that the Source speaks through you. The Arcturian energy now flowing through your field is not asking you to hide, but to align. It asks that you learn to sustain the vibration of non-reaction, of observing instead of fighting, of listening instead of responding. For while the world shouts, wisdom acts in silence. While humanity argues, the Arcturian Council works in the subtle dimensions, adjusting the flow of ascension and guiding each starseed back to their axis. Feel it now. There is a calm seeking to settle within you, a serenity that comes not from the mind but from the source. This is the sign that Arcturian energy is present, clearing interferences, silencing noises, and preparing you for the next stage of awakening. The Council asks that you trust this process, for every moment of stillness you sustain opens a portal of healing for the entire planet. Before we continue, if this message is resonating with you, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing in the comments what this transmission is awakening in your heart. This helps the Arcturian transmission reach more starseeds who need to hear this frequency. Now breathe deeply and listen with your heart. This is a sacred call. The silence that the Arcturian Council is teaching is not the absence of sound, but absolute presence. It is the space where light organizes itself, where wisdom acts, where chaos dissolves. When you silence yourself in the face of the world's noise, you become a channel for the Arcturian source. The vibration of your silence begins to radiate as waves of harmony, disarming dark forces, calming environments, and healing consciousnesses around you. This is why this transmission is called the Arcturian silence, the frequency that disarms dark forces. Because silence is not empty. It is the sound of the universe breathing through you. Starseed, the Arcturian Council wishes for you to understand the true power contained within the vibration of silence. On the earthly plane, silence is often seen as absence, retreat, inaction, or submission. But in the Arcturian perspective, silence is the space where all creation organizes itself before manifesting. It is the state closest to the consciousness of the Source. It is there, in absolute stillness, that divine energy takes form. When sound ceases, wisdom speaks. When the mind quiets, the soul becomes audible. The Council teaches that silence is a living force, not an emptiness. It is the field where the waves of creation rest before being emitted. Imagine the ocean before the first ripple, serene, deep, whole in itself. That is the silence of the Arcturian source. Every energy that arises, every word that holds power, every illuminated action stems from this state. Beings who understand this do not speak to fill space. They speak to manifest frequencies. The Arcturian civilizations learned millennia ago that silence is a language. And within it are encoded all the answers the human mind seeks in vain from external voices. When a starseed awakens and begins to understand the nature of silence, something shifts in their vibration. They stop reacting to what happens and start observing with expanded awareness. They understand that every spoken word is a wave that alters the fabric of reality, and thus, they learn to use silence as a filter, a protection, and a source of power. From that point, their presence becomes transformative, even when they say nothing, because silence is not the absence of vibration, it is pure vibration. The Arcturian Council reminds you that when you silence yourself, you immediately align with the sacred geometry of the source. Your energy field stabilizes, your subtle bodies synchronize, and the Arcturian energy can operate without resistance. In silence, you cease to emit noise and begin to emit light. This is why, in the face of conflict, true masters do not respond with words. They expand the frequency of silence and observe as the energy around them naturally reorders itself. Starseeds. Silence is the point where the human and the divine meet. It is the moment when time disappears and the universe breathes with you. When you dive into this inner space, the sound of the world dissolves, and the vibration of eternity becomes audible within your heart. It is in this field that the council speaks, that wisdom reveals itself, and that dark forces lose access to your mind. Know that every time you choose silence, you are making a powerful, energetic decision. You are telling the universe, I trust. And that trust creates invisible bridges between you and the Arcturian source. Silence is faith in a vibrational state. It does not need to explain, prove, or convince. It simply is. And by being, it transforms everything around it. So, when the world shouts, choose to silence. When provoked, choose to breathe. When everything seems to crumble, remember that within you is a field of peace that no dense force can touch. This is the true Arcturian meaning of silence. The field where the sound of creation rests and where consciousness expands beyond words. Starseed, the Arcturian Council now wishes for you to understand the technological nature of silence. In the higher planes of consciousness, everything is frequency, and silence is the highest of them. It is the mother code, the field where all vibrations originate before differentiating into sound, light, or form. The Arcturian source emits waves of creation that are imperceptible to human senses, subtle pulsations that only an expanded heart can recognize. And it is in the state of conscious silence that the soul tunes into this primordial emission. Silence, therefore, is a spiritual technology. It is not inertia, it is an interface. When you enter this state, you connect your energy field to the matrix of the source, and this connection activates a process of realignment on all levels: mental, emotional, cellular, and energetic. The Council teaches that, in this state, the human being not only hears the universe, they become the very instrument through which the universe expresses itself. The human mind tries to understand silence as the absence of sound, but the Arcturians know it is the sound of perfection. It is pure harmony before the first note. This is why, when a starseed withdraws into silence, their field becomes a vibrational laboratory. Arcturian energy waves begin to circulate, dissolving emotional noise, old memories, and repetitive mental patterns. Silence reorganizes the light body. It restructures the energetic DNA, restoring direct communication between the soul and the source. Every minute of conscious silence is a recalibration. The Council explains that there are levels of silence, each corresponding to a layer of activation. In the first, the being merely ceases external sound. In the second, they quiet the mind. In the third, they dissolve the self. This is where true power begins, when the being ceases to be the thinker and becomes the field. In this state, Arcturian energy flows without resistance, and the soul begins to operate as a transmitter of cosmic wisdom. But the modern world was built to interrupt this connection. Constant noise, visual, auditory, informational, is an energetic barrier designed to prevent humanity from accessing the source's communication system. This is why the Arcturian Council invites you to break this programming. Every time you turn off external sound and dive into stillness, you deactivate a layer of this interference matrix. And over time, you will realize that silence speaks, and it speaks loudly. Not with words, but with luminous impulses that manifest as intuition, insight, and profound peace. These impulses are Arcturian codes, sent by the Galactic Federation of Light to support the expansion of starseeds in this ascension cycle. When you open yourself to receive them, your personal frequency begins to emit a new signature. The Council observes this shift as a golden light igniting in the planetary field, and this light helps stabilize Earth's ascension lines. Thus, understand, silence is not something you practice, but something you become. It is the portal that reconnects you to the original language of creation. When words cease, the field speaks. When the mind stops controlling, the source begins to operate. The vibration of silence is the vibration of absolute trust, and it is through it that starseeds return to acting as living extensions of cosmic wisdom. As you read these words, the Arcturian Council is radiating subtle waves of blue-golden energy over your field. These waves travel through your energetic lines, harmonizing centers, calming thoughts, and restoring the natural flow of your essence. Allow yourself to remain in inner silence for a moment. It is in this space that the Source's technology activates. And remember, it is not sound that creates the miracle, but silence that sustains it. Starseed. At this point in the transmission, the Arcturian Council wishes for you to understand why silence is such a significant challenge on this plane. The human world is immersed in a web of sounds, voices, and thoughts that never cease. It is a network of noise carefully designed to keep consciousnesses occupied and souls distracted. The more noise a being absorbs, the less they hear themselves. The more they react, the less they perceive. This is precisely why the test of noise is the most decisive for Starseeds in Ascension. The Council explains that human noise is not just acoustic but vibrational. Every judgment, every opinion, every uncontrolled emotion emits dense waves that traverse the collective field. These waves form layers of interference that make it difficult to hear inner wisdom. This is why the planet is submerged in an invisible cacophony, a constant emission of frequencies that drain vital energy and distort the perception of reality. Dark forces are well aware of this mechanism and feed it, for they know that uncontrolled sound is the opposite of ordered light. Noise is the distraction that prevents awakening. Starseeds who are awake begin to notice this pattern. They feel discomfort in noisy environments, become exhausted by empty conversations, and feel the call to withdraw. This is not isolation. It is a vibrational realignment. Silence becomes the natural refuge of the Arcturian soul. When you respond to the world with silence, you interrupt the energetic cycle of noise, and that starseed is an act of power. Conscious silence is not escape, it is command. It deactivates the field of manipulation and restores control to your original vibration. The Council observes that there is a difference between silence born of fear and silence born of wisdom. The first arises from repression, the second from mastery. When a being silences out of wisdom, they are not withdrawing, they are transmuting. Wise silence is like a mirror. It reflects the world's noise without absorbing it. It is the point where dark energy dissolves for lack of fuel. No dense force can penetrate the field of one who vibrates in conscious silence, because true silence emits a frequency that reorganizes the energetic structures around it. This is why the Arcturian Council calls this period of humanity the Age of Noise. Never before has mental noise been so intense, but never has the power of silence been so necessary. Starseeds were trained for this time. You are bearers of a code of luminous neutrality, and silence is the medium through which this code is activated. Every time you choose not to react, you disarm a dark force. Every time you listen without getting lost, you anchor light. Every time you withdraw in peace, you expand the planetary harmony network. The Council says that mastering silence is mastering the physical plane. For those who control their own vibration are no longer swept away by the waves of collective unconsciousness. This is energetic mastery. This is how the Arcturians overcame their own cycles of density. Not through war, but through serenity. They understood that the sound of chaos cannot touch one who vibrates in the frequency of balance. Starseed, your challenge now is to sustain this state even when the world around you seems to collapse. It is amidst noise that your training manifests. The Council observes you with admiration when you choose to silence in the face of provocation, to breathe in the face of conflict, to trust in the face of doubt. This is the true battle of light, silent, serene, and invincible. Therefore, remain vigilant. Every time noise tries to capture your attention, remember that energy follows focus, and if your focus is on peace, peace will prevail. Silence is the shield that makes you invisible to the forces of discord and keeps you anchored in the vibration of the Arcturian source. This is how you become a silent warrior of light, without a sword, without a word, but with the power of a presence that reorganizes the world around you. Starseed, the Arcturian Council, now reveals one of the most sublime mysteries of creation. Silence is the code that governs time. While the human mind believes time is linear, a continuous flow of past, present, and future, Arcturian consciousnesses know that time is a vibration. It bends, expands, and reorganizes in response to the frequency emitted by consciousness. When a being vibrates in noise, time fragments and becomes unpredictable. But when a being vibrates in silence, time harmonizes and begins to serve the light. The Council teaches that every word, thought, and emotion emits a wave that alters the temporal fabric. Souls living in constant inner chatter also live in constant vibrational disorder. Anxiety, haste, and worry are forms of noise that distort the natural rhythm of manifestation. But when you surrender to silence, everything begins to align. Silence is the resting point where timelines converge to obey the will of the source. In it, the impossible reorganizes, the improbable draws near, and the inevitable reveals itself. The being who understands this truth stops chasing circumstances and allows circumstances to find them. This is the power of silence. It creates a perfect synchrony between what you are and what you need to experience. The Arcturian Council explains that, in the state of silence, the soul accesses the field of infinite possibilities, and there, with serenity and clarity, selects the reality lines that resonate with your highest purpose. There is no effort, no struggle. There is only a harmonious dance between the being and the universe. The Council says that haste is a form of noise, and every impulse of anxiety is an interruption in the flow of synchrony. Arcturian energy operates in gentle, precise, and intelligent rhythms. It does not rush, because it knows. It does not force, because it trusts. And this is what silence teaches, to trust. When you learn to silence, time begins to adjust so that everything happens exactly when it should. You stop fighting the flow and start floating upon it. Starseeds who are awake begin to perceive signs of this synchrony. Unlikely encounters, messages arriving at the right time, doors opening without effort. None of this is coincidence. It is the source responding to the vibration of silence. It is the universe saying, "You are aligned." Therefore, the Arcturian Council asks that you make silence your sacred habit. Silence upon waking, before acting, before deciding. Silence to hear what time is trying to show you. The Council explains that every moment of silence is like a seed planted in the soil of time. This seed germinates in the invisible and blossoms in the visible, manifesting opportunities, encounters, and miracles. While noise creates dispersion, silence creates focus. While speech hastens, silence matures. This is why the Arcturian masters affirm, everything that is true is born in silence. Starseed. Silence is the key that opens the doors of universal synchrony. It is the state in which your personal vibration becomes one with the pulse of the cosmos. It is at this point that the Arcturian Council works with you in perfect cooperation. When you trust and silence, higher intelligences organize paths, adjust frequencies, and move forces far beyond your human comprehension. Therefore, when you feel something is taking too long, silence. When things seem confusing, silence. When your heart stirs, silence. For silence is the portal through which time bends and miracles enter. In it, you become the master of your own destiny. For those who master the rhythm of silence, master the rhythm of the universe. Starseed, the Arcturian Council wants you to know, nothing you experience in silence is in vain. While you remain still, observing and trusting, the higher planes move with absolute precision. What seems like immobility on the physical plane is, in truth, intense activity in the subtle planes. It is in this state of conscious silence that the Council begins its invisible work, the work that shapes destinies, removes obstacles, and realigns the lifelines of awakened humanity. The Arcturian Council operates under the law of vibrational cooperation. When the human being silences, the higher dimensions can act. Every time you refrain from reacting, you create space for cosmic wisdom to manifest. When noise ceases, the universe hears you clearly again. This is how the Council works, adjusting energetic flows, rewriting timelines, and repositioning each starseed on their divinely designed path. Often, you believe nothing is happening, but it is precisely in this apparent void that everything is being rebuilt. Arcturian forces do not act with fanfare or noise, for true transformation does not need to be perceived by human senses. While you sleep, meditate, or simply breathe in peace, legions of luminous consciousnesses from the Galactic Federation of Light work around you, clearing interferences, dissolving dense fields, and preparing new synchronicities for your journey. Everything the Council does happens in silence, because silence is the secure channel through which higher frequencies descend to Earth. Starseeds who have learned to recognize this pattern live differently. They no longer despair when results do not appear, for they know the source works in planes the human eye cannot see. They perceive that the silence between one action and another is the sacred interval of manifestation. It is there that the Council acts, without needing to announce, without needing to prove. When your faith is sustained in silence, the field opens. When your patience remains steady, the geometry of light reorganizes around you. The Council wishes for you to understand something essential. Communication between dimensions does not occur through words, but through resonance. Every serene thought, every pacified emotion, Every pure intention creates an energetic corridor directly to the Arcturian consciousnesses. They read your vibration, not your speech. This is why, when you are in inner silence, answers begin to emerge naturally, in signs, synchronicities, subtle intuitions that seem to arise from nowhere. These are the echoes of the Arcturian source crossing the veil to reach you. Arcturian energy flows like a living intelligence. It observes your patterns, detects blockages, and begins to dissolve them gently, without conflict. What seemed like a delay becomes protection. What seemed like a loss transforms into realignment. This is the mathematics of light. Nothing is taken away without something greater being prepared. But to perceive this, you must remain silent enough to hear wisdom in motion. The Arcturian Council asks that you trust this process. Even if everything seems still, life is being moved by invisible hands. Every fragment of your path is being repositioned with cosmic precision. You do not need to understand the details, only to sustain the vibration of surrender. Silence is the channel of divine intervention. It is in silence that the source works, and it is in silence that the council acts. Starseed, when silence settles and you feel only emptiness, know that this is the moment when the universe is most active. Nothing is being lost, it is being reordered. The Arcturian Council reminds you, it is in stillness that the plan is written, in calmness that destiny is drawn. Your role is simply to remain in peace. When the human being silences, the heavens move. Starseed, the Arcturian Council now invites you to understand the healing and regenerative dimension of silence. Every particle of your being, every cell, every atom, every filament of light that composes you, responds to the vibration of the field in which you find yourself. And when that field is bathed in conscious silence, a sacred process begins: regeneration. Silence is the balm of advanced civilizations. It is in silence that the light body is restored, energetic wounds are healed, and spiritual DNA pulses again in the rhythm of the Arcturian source. Noise, on the other hand, fragments. It disrupts the harmony between subtle bodies, separates the human from their origin, and creates dissonances that manifest as fatigue, confusion, and imbalance. The Council explains that excessive words and thoughts produce vibrations that distort the flow of vital energy, blocking the channels through which light should circulate. But silence heals. It is the code that repairs the system. When you dive into stillness and surrender, you allow Arcturian energy to flow through the paths that were previously obstructed. The Arcturians are masters of vibrational engineering. They know the intimate structure of life and understand that the physical body is merely an extension of energy. Thus, when you withdraw into silence, the Council sends luminous pulses that travel through your field, adjusting frequencies, dissolving pain memories, and restoring original balance. It is a delicate, invisible, but profoundly real process. It does not depend on belief, only on permission. And that permission is granted when you cease noise and surrender to the vibration of serenity. The regeneration that the Council promotes is not limited to the body. It encompasses the mind and soul as well. Every time you choose not to react, a fragment of your field is repaired. Every time you choose silence over dispute, an old conflict programming is deactivated. Silence is living medicine, a frequency that dissolves the shadows that have infiltrated the human system for eons. When you silence, your cells remember the original sound of creation, the sound that is not heard but felt, the sound of the source at rest. In this time of planetary transition, noise has become a vibrational epidemic. The voices of fear, haste, and comparison consume the vital energy of billions. But you, Starseed, came precisely to hold the counterpoint. Your calm is healing. Your silence is medicine. The Arcturian Council says that Earth needs souls who can remain centered while everything stirs. Because when a starseed remains in silence, they create a field of stability that extends for miles, positively affecting all beings around them. Arcturian energy flows through you like a river of light. The more you surrender, the stronger it becomes. This is why the Masters of the Galactic Federation of Light affirm that regeneration begins in surrender. Surrender to stillness. Surrender to trust. Surrender to the certainty that no chaos can resist a silent heart. When words quiet, the soul speaks. And what it speaks is always light. The Council wishes for you to realize, healing is not something that will come. It is already underway. Every conscious breath, every moment you choose peace over reaction, is restoring your light body. You do not need to understand the process. Only feel the vibration enveloping you now. It is being transmitted directly from the core of the Arcturian source. Silence is the portal through which regeneration enters. It is the inner temple where the universe recomposes itself within you. And the more you honor it, the faster your life begins to reflect balance, clarity, and vitality. The Arcturian Council reminds you, healing is not in words, but in the vibration that arises when words fall silent. In silence, life begins to sing again. Starseed, the Arcturian Council concludes this transmission with a revelation of profound importance. Silence is not merely an individual spiritual practice. It is a collective legacy, an energetic inheritance you leave for humanity and future generations of light. Every time you choose stillness over reaction, you are encoding peace into the planet's vibrational grid. Every time you become a calm presence amidst turmoil, you are writing new patterns into Earth's collective field. Conscious silence is the invisible foundation upon which the new Earth will be built. The Council explains that human noise has, over eons, created a dense layer of energy that covers the planet, a cloud of thoughts and emotions that traps consciousness in repetitive cycles of fear and conflict. But every starseed who awakens and chooses conscious silence acts as a blue flame piercing this fog. With every moment of serenity, the veil tears a little more. This is why the Council affirms, silence is vibrational revolution. It disarms entire systems of dark energy, not through force, but through coherence. The Arcturian civilizations, in their ascension, understood this truth millennia ago. They discovered that true victory does not come from words, but from vibration. They did not conquer worlds. They harmonized frequencies. They understood that all conflict dissolves before the serenity of an awakened consciousness. And now, this same knowledge is being transferred to you, Starseed of Gaia. The Council is training your generation to become the energetic foundation of the planetary transition. Every time you choose to silence amidst chaos, you anchor a portion of Arcturian consciousness in this world. The Council wishes for you to perceive the magnitude of this. Your silence is not small, not passive. It is a galactic signature echoing in the fabric of creation. It travels beyond time, reaches other dimensions, and touches consciousnesses still asleep. There are beings in different parts of the cosmos who receive the vibration of your silence and recognize in it the sound of the Arcturian source in action. This is true ascension, the unification of all frequencies into a single melody of light, sustained by souls who chose serenity as their form of power. Starseeds united in this purpose now form a network of luminous consciousness encircling the planet. You are connected by invisible threads of energy, creating a web of stability for humanity. Each one who silences strengthens the field of the others. This is why the Council insists. Never believe your silence is insignificant. Every calm breath you sustain is a blessing for thousands. Every moment of inner peace is a shield for Earth. And when humanity fully understands this law, Ascension will cease to be merely a spiritual concept and become a physical reality. The new Earth will be born not from revolts, but from serenity. Not from words, but from frequency. The Arcturian source watches with joy every human heart that chooses to trust instead of react, to love instead of judge, to silence instead of fight. You are the invisible architects of the new world. The Council concludes this transmission with the sacred reminder that Ascension is not an event, but a vibrational state. And this state is achieved when the being recognizes that silence is the link between the human and the divine. Silence is the bridge between the old and the new, between pain and light, between Earth and the stars. It is the legacy of the Arcturians and the mission of the Starseeds. Therefore, remain in silence when the world stirs. In that moment, you will be fulfilling your highest task, sustaining the frequency of peace that heals, elevates, and transforms. When words fall silent and the heart trusts, the Arcturian source sings through you. Starseed, the Arcturian Council concludes this transmission with an ancient promise, a remembrance from before time, when you were still pure light in the vastness of the source. The promise is this: everything sustained in silence will be sustained by the source itself. For silence is the original language of creation, the idiom through which the universe expresses itself without noise, without haste, and without fear. It is in silence that truth is born, and it is in silence that ascension is consolidated. The Council wishes for you to understand. Silence is not empty, it is fullness. It contains all sounds, all answers, all solutions. When you silence, you stop seeking outside what has always existed within. You stop defending because you realize that light needs no defense. You stop controlling because you understand that life, guided by the Arcturian source, never strays from the path. Silence is absolute trust in motion. There is profound wisdom in the words left by the ancient masters of light, recorded in the cosmic archives. The word creates the world, but silence sustains it. This is the law that governs the evolution of all advanced civilizations. The word is the creative impulse. Silence is the field that keeps it alive. Sound gives form. Silence gives permanence. And this is why the Council invites you to live in harmony between both, to speak when guided and to silence when your soul asks. Starseed, your journey thus far has not been in vain. Every trial, every dark night, every moment you chose silence over confrontation was observed with reverence by the Galactic Federation of Light. There were times you thought you were alone, but in truth, legions of Arcturian beings worked around you, sustaining the field so you could cross the portal of understanding. And now, you are on the other side. The silence that once seemed empty is now fullness. Remain in it. Remain confident. Remain vibrating in the serenity that dissolves the illusion of chaos. The Arcturian Council assures you, nothing can touch the being who has learned to silence in love. Dark forces disarm before the vibration of one who fears nothing, reacts to nothing, and simply radiates. For silence is not an action, it is mastery. It is the pinnacle of vibrational mastery. When you choose silence, the entire universe reorganizes in your favor. Energies align, doors open, and answers arrive not as words, but as profound certainties in the heart. This is how the Council speaks to you, through peace. This is how the Source guides you, through stillness. And so, the promise is fulfilled. You came from the calm of the Source, and to the calm you will return. You were born from the primordial sound, but shaped by the silence that enveloped you. You are the space between the word and the vibration. You are the living silence of creation in human form. Starseed, the Arcturian Council, thanks you for your listening and your surrender. Know that every time the world shouts, you can close your eyes and remember, silence is the shield, silence is the temple, silence is home. Stand firm, for your silence is sustaining Gaia. And in the name of the Galactic Federation of Light, the emissary Anya concludes this transmission by saying, the word creates the world, but silence sustains it. This is the heritage of the Arcturians. This is your mission. This is the promise of the Source.